The day had been unusually heavy. Long meetings, endless phone calls, and the weight of client expectations bore down on me like a storm cloud. I was barely able to keep my eyes open by the time I parked in front of my house and turned off the ignition. My name is Rebecca Morgan. I'm a 41-year-old corporate attorney in Houston, Texas, and every day I juggle demanding executives, tight deadlines, and an unending flood of documents that never seem to stop coming. It's the kind of high-powered life that looks glamorous on the outside, but drains you from the inside. I stepped out of my car and sighed, letting the warm evening air surround me. The neighborhood was quiet as always, trees lining the sidewalks, the distant sound of kids riding bikes in the cul-de-sac. Inside, the house was spotless, as expected. The scent of lemon cleaner lingered faintly in the air. I kicked off my heels and ran a hand through my hair. My neck was stiff and my lower back throbbed. As I walked into the kitchen, I found Ethan, our live-in house assistant, wiping down the counters. Ethan had been with us for about 6 weeks. In his late 20s, tall with sandy blonde hair and a calm, steady demeanor, he was polite, efficient, and quietly observant. I had hired him through a staffing agency after my last assistant moved back to Illinois. From the beginning, Ethan had impressed me with his work ethic and attention to detail. He had that natural ability to know what was needed before anyone asked. "Rough day?" he asked without turning around. "The worst," I said, dropping my purse on the table and leaning against the counter. "I feel like I've been run over by a freight train." He offered a sympathetic smile and reached for a glass. "Water." I nodded. "Please." He filled a glass, handed it to me, and watched as I took a long sip. Then, almost hesitantly, he said, "I know this might sound odd, but I've studied massage therapy. Took a course while I was in community college. If you'd like, I could help relieve some of that tension in your back and shoulders." I blinked at him. It was an unexpected offer, but the pain in my neck spoke louder than my surprise. "Are you serious?" He nodded. "Absolutely. Just basic pressure point techniques. Nothing invasive. You seem like you could use it." The truth was, I hadn't had any real self-care in months. The idea of a massage sounded like heaven. After a moment's hesitation, I smiled. "You know what? Sure. Just don't laugh if I fall asleep in the middle of it." "I'll set up in the living room," he said, already moving into action. Within minutes, he had placed a towel over the couch, brought in a bottle of massage oil, and dimmed the lights slightly. I laid face down on the couch, the cool fabric soothing against my skin through the thin blouse I still wore. Ethan knelt beside me and gently draped another towel over my back. His hands were warm as they began working on my shoulders. It only took a few moments for me to melt under his touch. His movements were firm, steady, and focused, applying just the right pressure to the knotted muscles. I closed my eyes and let out a sigh I didn't even know I was holding. For the first time all day, my mind began to quiet. "You weren't kidding," I murmured. "You're good at this." "Thanks," he said. It always came naturally to me. My sister used to get migraines, and I'd help her out when she couldn't sleep. His voice was gentle, and the rhythm of his hands was almost hypnotic. I drifted into a state between sleep and awareness, lulled by the rhythm of his movements. I wasn't sure how long we stayed that way, but by the time I sat up, the tightness in my back had almost completely vanished. "That was amazing," I said, stretching my arms overhead. "Thank you." Ethan gave a small smile. "You looked like you needed it." There was something about his gaze that lingered. Not intrusive, just thoughtful. He seemed to see more than I showed most people. I brushed off the thought and excused myself to change into something more comfortable. That night, I slept deeper than I had in weeks. The following evenings, Ethan continued to offer massages, never pushing or assuming, always respectful. Each time, I'd come home exhausted, and each time he'd offer quiet comfort without expectations. It became our silent ritual. We never made a big deal of it, but those moments became the part of the day I secretly looked forward to the most. Soon, we began talking during those sessions. It started with small things, his favorite books, my favorite courtroom wins. Then, deeper subjects emerged. I learned about his struggles in college, the financial pressure he faced after his mother got sick. He learned about my divorce, how my ex-husband and I grew apart under the weight of ambition and expectations. Those conversations felt different from the ones I had with friends or coworkers. There was no judgment, just quiet understanding.